Right, this here is our second card. So it is a gatefold card that meets in the center rather than folding on the side and having the opening just on this, right hand side. So first step for this card, once again, we're going to create the base so that we have something to glue our elements onto. So to make a gatefold card, this paper is 8.5 by 5.5, and all of these measurements are going to be on your supply list. So when this is folded in half, or half of this measurement is 4 1/4. So in order to create the gatefold card, I need to score at 2 1/8. Now my scoreboard doesn't have 1/8 inch measurements, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here at 1/8 of an inch below the 1 inch mark, and then I'm going to score at the 3 inch line here. So that will be 2 1/8. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Now when I go to fold this, to make sure that everything is straight, I make sure that my top and my bottom line up exactly with the edges. If anything is off, I adjust it before using my bone folder to really set in that crease there. And then the other side, once again, I'm lining up my front, or my top and my bottom, and then use my bone folder to really set in that crease there, and it should match exactly in the middle. And by setting in the crease, or really folding it down there, you're just making your card lie a little bit flatter than if you didn't do that. So there is our base there. I already have my pieces for the front of my card cut here. So I'm going to glue this one, the white one, onto my cranberry colored one. Now this doesn't have any stamping on it, so I'm good to just glue it right on there. For the next piece, we're going to do an insert in the inside of our card here, and you'd want to do the stamping first before gluing that to your card, just at the off chance that you have a missed stamp or whatnot. Easier to replace it when you haven't glued anything down. So the next step here is we're going to glue just this side to the front of the card so that this side here is free to open. So the easiest way to do that is take some tape. I'm going to put some tape on the back of this piece here, right along the edge, and then I'm going to put some tape right along that edge there. So just any good double-sided tape. You could use liquid glue here as well. You just want to be careful not to go too close to the edge. I'm just taking note of how much space I have in the top and the bottom because I don't want my tape to go beyond my element here. And then we take the backing paper off of that. And then same with this one here. I always like to press it down, make sure it's got really good contact with my piece here before putting it down. So I'm centering it between the top and the bottom, and then between the two sides of the card here. And you'll feel it, that with the double-sided tape, you'll feel it grab, but it usually doesn't stick too well until you press it down. And there we have. We've got our card base. So our center of our, or inside of our card, I'm going to stamp a sentiment right in there. Now you could stamp it right onto your card. This insert is actually, I was debating whether to add an insert to this card, and then in the end I did, because I stamped it without the insert, and I actually had a mistake in there. I got a, where's my paper towel? I've got a little bit too much ink on that stamp. When I stamped the first time, I stamped it right into my card, and I got a little bit too much ink there, so that was a little bit blurry, which is why I'm cleaning my stamp off here, because this particular ink pad is very, very juicy. So I want to make sure that I have it well inked, but if you have too much ink on there, you're going to get some blurred sentiments. I'm pressing down very gently. With clear stamps, sometimes if you press too hard, you get a little bit of a smudge there. And by pressing down gently, I'm just making sure I've got good contact with between the stamp and the paper, but not really pressing my stamp into that paper. And glue that onto the mat. The mat is a personal preference. I think it just looks prettier if you're going to add an insert to a card to have it matte and framed. I think it just kind of makes it look a little bit better, makes it look a little intentional. If you put white on white, sometimes it looks like you're covering up a mistake, which in this case, like I already said, I am, or I was in the sample card because of my misstamp of my first stamp, but it just looks a lot prettier when you frame it and have it completely intentional. So there is our card base all ready for our next section. We're going to stamp and cut out our cardinals and poinsettias.